just witnessed the transformation or progression of one particular band named L.S.D, or better known as Life, Sex, and Death, from their album Silent Majority on Warner Brothers. And this video, I just wanted to kind of stress or introduce the idea of how much bands have to change their thing up in order to compete in the market. And this was some years ago, but it's still pretty dog eat dog, and you know, one is forced to change up their wardrobe and their sound, possibly to, you know, hone their particular genre or whatever, you know, act or whatever they're trying to do. Now, in this case, it's an extreme example. You heard American Noise right out of the gate, and then it went to Schools for Fools, and I kept going back to American Noise, back to Schools for Fools, to A-B these to show that shocking transformation or transition. Chris Stanley was a seriously talented musician, great piano player, songwriter, unbelievable presence as a person, very strong, very dominating when he would be in clubs and everything. And when I lived in Los Angeles, he was a very popular guy. He did have his eccentricities and stuff like that, but I've always kind of had a fascination for, you know, people that are strong enough to take that, you know, that step off the edge, you know, and dare to be different. Not so much for the sake of being different, but to be bold and go where not a lot of people have gone before. His wardrobe or his garb, you know, and his moves, they changed from the American Noise days to the Schools for Fools video. It's a completely different operation. The band looks similar. The band even beefed it up a little bit, went a little heavier and got a little edgier. In my opinion, this is like grunge before Cobain even happened, and it really was, because I was out there until Cobain he went to Sound City and he recorded Nevermind, and right from then on, the whole scene in LA was done. There was a point in time where Warner Brothers, in which L.S.D was signed to at the time, they were going through some personnel changes in the artist and repertoire department, where the A&R, and so a new person had taken over, and the label was really trying to dumb down L.S.D more and make them more pop formatted and kind of try to contain their the package. Stanley and some of the other guys in the band had ideas of making it more edgy and punk and less is more kind of thing, and dissonant as opposed to melodic. The album Silent Majority didn't really do a lot of units. I have a couple of ideas of how many units were sold, but it almost didn't warrant Warner Brothers to even want to do a second album. So they were kind of up in the air, and eventually Warner Brothers would drop the band. And my roommate at the time, and I'm not going to go into any names or anything, but he was in the band as he had replaced the first guy that you saw in the videos. When he replaced him, they were signed. But when, you know, 9 months after he joined the band, they were dropped. So at that point, this particular person that was my roommate was a real strong musician on his own. He had all of his own stuff, kind of like I was doing at that time, and we're just doing our own thing, and we weren't necessarily thinking about, you know, supporting a project or going in and working with somebody like Chris Stanley, the singer of Life, Sex, and Death, because, you know, you're subject to the realms of their writing at that point in time, and it kind of dumbs you down because you got to kind of try to fit in with what they're doing. And I was eventually asked by Stanley himself, the singer that you've seen in the video, to join the band, and he had said rest assured that, you know, and to calm my worries as far as the record label idea was concerned, because he had other connections and he felt it would segue quickly into another deal and another album. But I had a lot going on, just as much as my roommate did, and I looked at it at that point in time as a conflict of interest, and I turned the gig down, and I pretty much seen Stanley maybe one or two times after that. I found him to be one of the more intriguing and bombastic frontmen that I'd ever seen. And I've seen a lot of bands. A phenomenal presence, and always a show favorite, and he seemed to have a charm about him that just turned everybody into a fan. I have met people that don't like him. I've met people close to me that are just like, no, forget that guy. I kind of like to lead and do my own thing. But I hope you enjoyed the video, because I really think it gives you an idea, if you're a musician or you have ideas of doing something in the business, it gives you an idea of how much you can change things up if you put your mind to it, you know. So you guys take care, and I'll see you next time.